she's wrestling with the dude, grabbing the keys out of his hand. You know, she's like, got the keys and trying to rip them out of his hand. So I'm like, I freeze up like, should I go help her? And I'm like, yo, this dude might pop both of us, you know? So I'm kind of freezing up like, what the heck? And I'm like, okay, is my grandma okay?
Mama had me when she was only 15. Daddy got killed when I was only 4. Grew up in the hood, had to get it out the mud. Had to pick up the sack, I ain't wanna be broke. All my homeboys either dead in jail. Looking back, I had to go hard, I ain't wanna fail. Now I'm on a plane on my way to do a show.
What's up? My name is Trey Little, and I'm gonna tell you about the time that me and my grandma almost got carjacked in Detroit. So I was about 13 years old, 14 years old, I really can't remember, maybe like 14. And my grandma comes to visit from out of town. You know, she picks me up and she's in a decent rental car, not nothing too extravagant or whatever. She picks me up, and I was living in the hood of Detroit. I mean, like, it was rough. Gunshots, robberies, like, it was bad. Like, people getting, you know, popped up 24, like, it was bad, right? And it was like we could only really afford there at the time. Like, we were kind of broke, like kind of poor. We didn't really have much money. So my mom, stepdad, and, you know, a couple of us lived in this neighborhood that was very, like, it was just very brutal, you know. So I tried to just stay out the way. There were like active, you know, kind of gangs, you know, people who claim their neighborhoods. There's not really many gangs in Detroit, but people who claim their territory in their neighborhood. So my grandma picks me up and we're driving. So we're going up the street and she decides to stop for gas. And, you know, we got some music playing in the car. It was like Lil Wayne or something like that. And I'm kind of zoned out, just bobbing my head, just sitting, you know, looking at I think I had like a iPod or something. I'm just looking at the screen, just kind of daydreaming. I hear the car door open up, and in the corner of my eye I see somebody that I don't recognize. So I'm like, man, like, okay, I ain't think much of it because my grandma knows a lot of people, you know. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe she has somebody that she knows moved the car, you know. In Detroit, like, my grandma knows a lot of people, like I said. But I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I hear, you know, get out the car. And I'm like, I look over, I'm like, get out the car? Like, what you mean? And they like, I said, get out the car. So I instantly look up and say, like, who are you? And then the dude kind of like clenches his like pocket, like he was about to reach for a gun or something. So I said, okay. So I got out the car, and then we're at the gas station, and it was like broad daylight as well. It was like daylight, like the amount of light that you see now, it was daylight. So the dude gets in the car, and then I get out after he says get out, after kind of attempting to say no, but I seen him reach for a weapon or whatever. So my grandma's coming out the gas station, and what I learned from this day is never leave the keys in ignition. That's why I never leave the keys just sitting in ignition till this day. Get out the car, my grandma's like, what's going on? I'm like, Grandma, somebody's trying to carjack us. And then she's like, what? So then she runs to the car, start wrestling with the dude to get the keys, and I'm trying to run away because I'm thinking that the dude got a gun. I'm like, I freeze up because I'm getting ready to run. Like, let's go in the store, Grandma. So I'm thinking like, we about to run. My grandma's like, no, we ain't about to let him just take off with the car like that. So I'm like, Grandma, are you serious? So I'm getting ready to, like, I start running. I'm like mid-sprint. I turn around thinking that my grandma was gonna go into the gas station, and, you know, I was just gonna jet around the corner. I wasn't thinking logically, right? I was in like fight or flight mode. I was in flight mode because I couldn't fight with a dude that I thought had a gun, you know. So she's wrestling with the dude, grabbing the keys out of his hand. You know, she's like, got the keys and trying to rip them out of his hand. So I'm like, I freeze up like, should I go help her? And I'm like, yo, this dude might pop both of us, you know. So I'm kind of freezing up like, what the heck? And I'm like, okay, is my grandma okay? She rips the keys, runs into the gas station, and then I take off running because I see that she's safe in the gas station, because I'm like, I don't think the dude is gonna go in there and do something to her broad daylight. So I'm closer to the alley. I start running, jump straight over a car. It was like the hood of a car, right? I'm running down the alley, fast down the alley. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just running through the trenches, right? So a car sees me running, a kid, and he could tell I was in trouble, you know. He pulls up, and it's just crazy to think about, man. Like, God, like, thank you, you saved my life back then, for real. Like, a dude just might maybe see me running, like, and can tell, like, I was in trouble, like a scary movie or something. I'm trying to imagine myself really running up the street like that. So I get to the, like, counter by a street, and the guy's like, you okay, you need help? And then his kid was in the back. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can trust him, because I didn't know if it was a random person telling me to get in his car that was with the other guy, right? So I get in the dude's car. He got his son. He takes me. I tell him what's going on. Hey, somebody's trying to carjack me and my grandma. We get in the car. We go back around to the gas station. My grandma get in the car. I get out the car. My grandma comes out the gas station. We start talking. My grandma was like still trying to recover. And my grandma's not old. Like, she's not like old. Because, you know, I'm trying to think. What is she, like 55, 60? Something like, I don't know, man. But she, and she's like masculine. You know, she's like a very masculine like person. So she, you know, my mom had me at 15. So, of course, she's young. But, yeah, so we talked about that after. And this was like a holiday. It might have been around like Easter or something like that, you know. So my grandma just like, you know, I shouldn't have did that. That wasn't a good idea. I put us both in danger. And I'm like, shoot, you know. She said if she could have redid it, she would have just let the guy take the car. But at the end of the day, we had some valuables in there, and it wasn't worth our life. But at the same time, it's like, watch this some punk be able to just take off with like all of our stuff like that, you know. And I don't know what she had in there, but like, it wasn't that valuable. And we could have just reported the car to the police and all that. But man, it was like, I feel good knowing that that guy didn't get what he wanted. Because like, bro, how can you try to carjack some guy and a teenager and his grandma? Like, what kind of coward do you have to be, right? So that was that, you know. And looking back, I'm like, man, that was one of the things that I went through that kind of like I'll never forget about, you know. It was tough. Like, I felt like I could have lost my life. And till this day, I never, when I get in the car, get out the car, I never let my family sit with the keys in the ignition like that, or I don't let them have the door unlocked, because our door was unlocked and keys was in ignition. Like, you would think that we would be okay, but we wasn't, apparently. So be safe out there, y'all. Like, think, you know what I mean? It don't matter where you at. Like, you can, people do drugs anywhere. They do drugs in the suburbs, the hood. Like, you can run it, you know what I mean? The country, you can run into anybody that's kind of crazy. So make sure y'all being smart out there. Always watch your back, watch your surroundings, be safe. And yeah.